Welcome back to Hansberry Honeybees. It is February 1st and it is a balmy 3 degrees outside. This morning when I got up, I kind of slept in today. I got up at like 5:15-ish. It was 1 degree. Actually got down a little colder with the sun coming up and pushing all the cold air down. But I think it's probably 5 degrees, something like that now. And when I come inside here today, I do have the little space heater running over here. It was a whole whopping, well, it was 43. Right now I'm running my kerosene heater because this is insulated pretty well. I think it's got an R36 in the ceiling, R19 in the walls. I do have the heat pump. I leave the honey building door open. The heat pump is just a heat pump when it's 1 degree outside. Right now it is saying in here it is 66 degrees, but that's on the wall. You know, I guarantee you that box isn't 66 degrees, or the lids or the wood that I'm putting boxes together. It's taking me a little bit longer to put stuff together because I think all the wood has kind of shrunk up, because I know where I got the lumber from, it's not a controlled environment and it is 1 degree. We did get quite a bit of sleet the other night. The good news is, thank you, Jesus, we didn't lose power. We got probably 2 inches of snow, probably 5 inches of sleet, and sleet stinks. You know, even with a 4-wheel drive truck, you know, it's not packing and there's nothing for your tires really to grab. It's just kind of moving the snow out of the way. Just a little advice. You know, we are in the country, so we do have neighbors, but, you know, keep track of your neighbors. Had an incident the other day. Neighbor across the street, we just call our neighbor Julie because our daughter's name is Julie, and it just gives everybody the who it is. She called me and said something on the lines of, "I need your help now." Now, usually she calls me, it might be, "Hey, could you?" But this was like, now. I'm like, "What's up?" Well, we have the neighbors to what I'm going to say kind of the south of us. They're an older couple, and I'm talking mid to late 80s. Their lane is probably, I don't know, 100 yards long, 120 yards long. It hadn't been plowed, and she said they decided to go to town. And there's 2 entrances. We call it the upper entrance and the lower entrance. The upper entrance is pretty well flat. The lower entrance, you have to go across their lake dam. So if you figure you got water on one side, or ice, and then you got this massive hill on the other. They came back through the lower entrance, slid off their lane, and they decided to try to walk up to their house. My guess, another 150 feet. They fell. A solid sheet of ice. They couldn't get back up. The gentleman, he's suffering from some things. He had his phone. All I know is the wife said she couldn't figure out how to use his phone. Before they got a hold of our neighbor Julie, it was 30 minutes. They're completely laying in the ice. I got over in my truck. I couldn't get all the way up to them because their truck was in the way. By then, our neighbor Julie and then the other neighbor Sandy were coming down. I got the lady to my truck. I left all the doors open to try to make it as simple as we could to get everybody in. And I said, "You get this lady in, I'll go get the husband." When I showed up, he was shivering uncontrollably. Not just like, you know, if you get that cold chill, we're talking, I could see his whole body convulsing from shivering. Being an older gentleman and the state he was in, I couldn't get him up by myself. I would just pick him up and he would just slide because it was in the ice. So neighbor Julie had to help me pick him up. Sandy had to put her feet the other direction of his and basically have it like a doorstop. Finally got him up. Sandy actually had to come behind us and kind of hold us up because let me tell you, when you're helping somebody to the vehicle in solid sheet of ice with, and I'm not being disrespectful, but with no help, it's a lot. Finally got him in the truck. I go around and I wipe out right on the ice. Hit my forearm and wrist on the running board. The knee that I always nurse, of course, that's the one that slammed against the ice. And I'm moving a little slow. Whatever muscles you use all the way around, I must have hit them pretty good. Good news is, we got them to the neighbor Julie's. Their kids came. Everything was fine. You know, and then we're messaging back and forth, Julie and myself, the neighbor Julie. And let's just say I thought I smelled something I shouldn't have in that situation. Not that, but like this. My nose usually doesn't lie. And it was brought up to me that maybe because they did have some with them, because that's on their road home, they went to the store. But I'm not judging anybody, but I think I was told it was because they knew they were going to die and they wanted to have one last drink together. Yeah, when you look at it that way, I don't care what kind of human being you are. You're like, wow, if we were probably 15 minutes later, we would be going to a funeral. So again, just know your neighbors. Even if you're in the country, call your neighbors, because I would hate to think that we got too busy and that would have happened and we'd be going to a funeral. So it's enough about that. So what am I doing today on this beautiful day? I am building boxes. I'm building 10 frame boxes. I'm building nuke boxes to get ready for spring. I'm fortunate that we have a Amish dealer that's within driving distance from our house. It is 100% snail mail, so I put an order in. He sends a confirmation back. Usually I say, could you have them ready by this date? In this scenario, a friend of mine happened to be picking up supplies, so I kind of bypassed that middle area, so I picked him up Saturday. So I was asked many times to show just a little video on how I do it, and I'll probably bring the camera a little closer, but since I get in trouble because people don't see my face enough, I thought I would do it this far away. So I'll do that. And full disclosure, this is not exactly how I always do it, because I went to Lowe's yesterday to get some more fasteners, some screws. I even looked at the staplers, but you know, this stapler works perfectly. It worked perfectly before I went to Lowe's, and when I got home last night, it's not working perfectly today. So if you see a couple staples that aren't seated perfectly, yes, I know it, but I'm not going to drive an hour and a half round trip to get a stapler. So I'll do a little thing here, and then I'll bring the camera closer. I'm not going to say this what we used to call C&B, which is clear or better, but they're pretty close. I would say everything here is number ones. You know, there might be knot holes here or there, but for the most part, they're number ones. And probably half the price of the box stores close to me. So I'm just going to call this a standard finger joint, and this is what I'm going to call just a half a finger. It kind of looks like a half a finger compared to, well, not that one, a whole finger. So this is actually Type Bond 3. No, I take that back. It is Type Bond 2. I do have some Type Bond 3. I just haven't finished up my gallon jug of the Type Bond 2 yet. So I'm going to put the finger. Make sure all your hand holds are out, because trust me, it can happen. I have a friend of mine, she did it before. So I got glue on all the fingers, and I'm just trying to put it together before all the glue falls off. And all I'm really doing right now is I'm going to try to put that together so it doesn't fall apart. That's really all I'm doing right now. So I'm going to come up and I'm going to put glue on these fingers. On that half finger. There. That one is not cooperative, so it's not going to fall apart. And now I'll come up here. Do on the half fingers. Or half fingers. And I might have said, I don't think these, you know, even though it's 68 degrees in here, all this wood probably is not at that temperature because it's been in his shop, my shop, that's not been heated. Again, all I'm doing is trying to get it together so it doesn't fall apart for now. Of course, I might have told you this story before, but I was working in the barn one day and it cycled on when my wife was beside me. For whatever reason, she punched me. Like I did it on purpose. I tell her that all the time. So I'll try to get this together before it cycles on. When it's 4 degrees outside, the oil, pistons, whatever it is, they just don't work right. So now that I have all the corners pretty well, so it's not going to fall apart, I just use my nailer, and I use my forearm to push the joints down. I shoot that tight, and then I pretty well make sure all the bottom edge, the top edge is tight. I spin the box around. So now I'm looking at this top joint. I do the same thing. This one, I do have a rubber mallet, but yeah. I can tell you right now, this one's got its bowed open a little bit, so I'll probably have to put a screw in here right away. I got a fastener here already, and I'll show you in a minute. So I believe that's got all the corners. Except that one I need to put a fastener. Yeah. So I'll show you what I'm talking about here. And I'm not complaining, I'm just showing you what I have. See, that's not tight yet. This is all tight. Can you see that? But then this last finger is not tight. So I'll set it down a little closer. And on this scenario, I just got my cordless drill. You do have to be careful, because with this end grain, if you plunge through it too hard, it might split on you, and it might split if you do everything perfectly. So as you can see now, that is tight. Now normally when I get to this stage, let me turn that compressor off so you don't have to hear that again. Normally when I get to this stage, I would take my nailer and I would shoot all these fingers, and that would be all for now. But since my nailer isn't working properly sometimes, I'm just going to shoot these as minimal as I can, and then after I get all the boxes together, I'll come back and I'll shoot them. But since since my nailer isn't working properly, I'll show you what I do. I go around and I make sure all these fingers are seated tight. And I'll look down and then I'll look down, or look over and then down. But I want to make sure they're seated good. So what I usually do now is I'm going to go around and I'm going to just put one in here just so everything looks good. Just in case you're wondering, DeMarco was hanging out with Barbara today. Gotta watch them too. Now, that part is done. Now, if you go, okay, that didn't take him very long to put that box together, and you think that's done, well, you're wrong. I don't care what supplier you buy boxes from. If you're installing this box, if you're assembling this box, you need to square it. The square. Don't use them little bitty old rafter framing squares. They're not, well, I shouldn't say. There's like a 6-inch rafter framing square, and then I think there's like a 12-inch rafter framing square. You can frame rafters with this. Yes, I know this. Been a carpenter since I was 17, and I'm not 17 now. You would be surprised how many people that I've talked to that said they don't buy equipment from so-and-so because their boxes weren't square. And I said, who put it together? Well, I did. Well, then it's not the company's fault that the box isn't square. It's your fault. So what I do, and I'm usually doing this by myself without this. So put the blade here, or the tongue, and you probably can't see it, but right now on this one, there's what I'm going to call 3/16 worth of daylight on this side. So that's telling me that box is that way well, not really 3/16, because the whole box is off 3/16. So just to make sure the pieces were cut properly, I put it on this other side. And it's pretty well telling me the same thing. So now what I do here, so this has got to go back this way. So if I push this corner this way, it should square that up. Now it's saying it's about, I don't know, just a hair over a 16th. It needs to go back that way. And that's saying it's pretty close. So we're going to do it a little more. That's on the gnats, you know what. And that's on the gnats, you know what. Now, you can use a tape measure to do somewhat the same thing, but that only works if you know 100% sure that all 4 of these sides are the exact same length. We can just, for giggles, that's 25 and 11/16. And that's 25 and 5/8. So if you don't know, that's a 16th. But you're not really a 16th off, you're a half a 16th off. Because you're wanting to minimize that half of what it's off. So it's good. I don't care what supplier tells you what. There's not a box in this planet that is made that is going to be assembled that is going to be perfectly square every time. I don't care what they tell you. And to be true with you, if they do tell you that, they're blowing smoke up your skirt. So now, as of right now, that's the way I leave this box. I only have the corners perfect. I have this right on the money. I'll show you there. So now, because I want to make sure you can see me, you know, I have fasteners in 4 spots. Well, I don't want to spin it because it is square. I'm very particular on making sure this is square. So now I'm done with this box until all until all the glue dries. So I'm going to put it over here. Now this box is completely dry. I did this last night. And what I do, again, since I normally staple all these, I'm going to wait till I get a new stapler and then do it. But what I do now is I come through and I put a screw here, excuse me, and then here. Even though I have staples there, now if you choose to put them, you know, you see the box is pretty tall and I'm trying to make sure you can see everything. You know, you could put it, I tried to always put it right here. That little half ear is where it's going to try to pull loose. So, my dang hose is right in the way of everything. So, what I'm going to do now, you won't be able to see, I'm going to put here these pilot holes. Each box, as of right now, is going to get 9 screws. Let me raise you back here a little bit. Maybe you can see more. Hopefully you won't get too hot with the kerosene heater right beside you. And granted, I'm a lefty, so I'm kind of a freak of nature, so hopefully my arms are not in your way too much. And I do take my time so I don't split anything more than I have to. And I always go back and make sure the joints are good. Not that joint, this joint for you weirdos. I'm pretty sure there's some of you out there that I've seen that do the other joint, but this guy don't. Floor is finally warming up. And yes, I did not comb my hair. Well, I also think our temperatures are supposed to climb into the 40s by the end of the week, so we're going to have to see how the bees did for these cold spells. As of right now, well, this is before the snow. You ask me how many hives I have. I think I have like 153, 158, something like that. I lost one that I know of right now. I was just looking at that window. It's getting warm in here. You probably can't see it. The ladybugs are out. All right, so that box is done. Now, I'll give you just a little heads up how I paint them. First off, make sure you paint this lip right here. I see a lot of beginners, they don't paint this. You know, the bees are gluing here, but they're not gluing here. So water you know, capillary action, that water will actually suck sideways in this wood, and that's usually what rots for people most. And then they blame it on the actual pine lumber. So what I do, and I'm not going to do it right now, but usually I'll have all my boxes stacked up. We'll just say 20 or 30 high, or not 20 or 30 high, but 20 or 30 boxes. And I go around, I paint all the handles with a paintbrush. I let it dry, I paint all the handles, so I put 3 coats on every handle. After that, I'll go through with my roller, and I'll roll this, you get the idea. But I don't really go all the way down, and I'll tell you that why. So, roll that. I'll set the box back down, and then I'll take my roller and I'll do this. Well, that way I don't do the bottom inch or so, because when I set it back on my tarps or my plastic, I don't want all that paint on the plastic, because then there's going to be instances where the paint will actually pull off from the wood, and it will. So then I'll do that, let it dry, and I'll come and do that 3 times. So really, it's got 3 coats on all my boxes. After those 3 coats are done, I basically do the same thing all the way around. So really, in the heart of my box has 6 coats of paint on it. And I have boxes that are 9 years old, pine boxes. That's just what I do. So, one last thing. I also bought nukes. I do sell nukes in the spring. I used to make my own out of Advantech. I'm not complaining, but Advantech is like a sawdust glue composite thing. Screws don't hold. You're really relying on glue and staples. They held up great for about 5 or 6 years, and then it just starts to break loose on boxes. I used to make all my own boxes. Now I'm getting away from that because the boxes are starting to, you know, they're kind of separating into joints. So there's 2 ways to either make nukes and nuke boxes. There's these are the Jester nuke box. These are crazy expensive now, probably averaging like 22 bucks a box. No matter what you do, I don't know how, but water leaks in. You know, you'll find water in the lid all the time, and I guess it's coming through here. I don't know. I don't really like them. I do like how it does have a, you know, a hole so you can feed. But they're just so expensive, and I don't know about anybody else, but I'm not really a fan of putting these suckers together. 21-ish box, or $21-ish a box. Now, this cost me $8.50 unassembled. Smell dust on my kerosene heater. So anyway, these I make out of MDO plywood, which is medium density overlay. It's not as good as HDO, which is high density overlay, but the only place around here to order it wants you to buy a pallet, because they don't stock it, and it's about 200 bucks a sheet. This I can buy at Menards for $100 a sheet, so that's what I do. I do use, you know, these aren't really going to be out all year long. So I do use the MDO here, but these have at least 3 coats of paint on them. I only do a 3/8 tall entrance because, to me, in my opinion, they don't need any more than 3/8. Then you really don't have to use mouse guards. I do buy these and put them together. I also make my own lids with a built-in spacer. My total price for this is $18. Now, that's not figured in my labor, but it's not figured in labor to that as far as doing my origami project. But to me, it's a whole lot better project. So Hope everybody has a great day. That's all I got for today. Enjoy the beautiful day inside, probably. Until the next one, God bless. Have a great week.